They thought I was just another spineless tech guy they could bully into submission. When the HOA president herself put hands on my wife and left her bleeding on our front steps, Victoria Langford had no idea she'd just activated the code that would delete her entire little kingdom. My name is Ethan Caldwell, and for 5 years, my family and I lived what everyone called the dream in Desert Vista Estates, a gleaming master-planned community on the outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona. Pristine stucco homes in approved Sedona sunset beige, xeriscaped yards with exactly the right number of saguaro cacti, and neighbors who waved politely while secretly counting each other's trash cans. The Desert Vista Homeowners Association, led by Victoria Langford, made sure it stayed that way. Or so they claimed. It started on a blistering Tuesday afternoon. I was in my home office debugging code when I heard raised voices outside. Mia, my wife, had stepped out to water the new agave plants we'd carefully chosen to meet the drought-tolerant native species guidelines. 3 figures in matching polo shirts with the HOA logo were marching up our walkway like they owned the place, which, according to their covenants, they kind of acted like they did. "Ma'am, this landscaping is non-compliant," snapped the leader, a sharp-faced woman in her early 50s with perfectly highlighted hair and the smile of a shark selling insurance. Victoria Langford herself, the president who'd been re-elected for 6 straight years because nobody dared run against her. Mia wiped her hands on her jeans. "We submitted the plans 3 months ago. You approved them." Victoria stepped closer, tablet in hand. "Approvals can be revisited if they affect community aesthetics. This agave is 2 inches too close to the walkway. Hazard to pedestrians. We're here to inspect the backyard immediately." When Mia asked for the specific bylaw section, Victoria's voice turned sweet as Arizona iced tea. "Sweetheart, wives don't usually handle these technical discussions. Where's your husband? Let the men sort property matters." That's when it escalated. Mia stepped back toward the door to call me. Victoria grabbed her arm. "Don't walk away from community officials, dear. It's uncooperative." One hard shove later, Mia tumbled down the 3 concrete steps, her forehead catching the edge. Blood trickled down her face as she lay there stunned. I bolted outside just as Victoria's 2 enforcers started snapping photos of my bleeding wife. "Documentation of resident resistance," one muttered with a smirk. "What the hell is this?" I demanded, kneeling by Mia. Victoria adjusted her sunglasses, unflappable. "Mr. Caldwell, the covenants are clear. Noncompliance requires enforcement. Your wife was obstructing official duties. Perhaps if she showed proper respect for the standards that keep property values high." "Standards?" I said quietly, noting how her eyes flicked to my laptop bag visible through the open door. "You mean the ones that let you decide whose rules actually apply?" She laughed, a brittle sound. "What are you going to do about it, Mr. Caldwell? Write a strongly worded email? Code an app to complain?" They left with a fat violation notice and a $1,200 fine, promising a follow-up inspection in 48 hours. That night, holding ice to Mia's stitches, I didn't rage. I analyzed. These people didn't just love rules, they worshipped them. And rules, like any system, have exploits. The next morning, I became the most compliant resident in Desert Vista history. I sent the HOA office a 47-page document requesting clarification on 63 different covenants, citing their own bylaws chapter and verse. Every question was polite, precise, and required written response within their mandated 72-hour window. Meanwhile, I started talking to neighbors. Quietly, Mrs. Alvarez, the widow 3 houses down, showed me her $850 fine for excessive holiday lighting, 3 strings of white lights on her porch in December. "They came when I was alone," she whispered. Victoria said old ladies who argue have unfortunate falls. The Parkers had been fined for their son's basketball hoop being visible from the street for 20 minutes. The rules they quoted didn't even exist in the official handbook, until Victoria amended them retroactively. I dug deeper. As a systems architect, I knew how to follow the money. Public records requests revealed something delicious. Over the last 2 years, nearly 40% of all collected fines funneled directly into consulting fees for a development company partially owned by Victoria's brother-in-law. They were systematically pressuring residents to sell. The goal? Clear the land for a luxury resort expansion that would make Victoria and her inner circle very rich. But the sweetest part? Their own bylaws had a clause they loved using against others. All board members and enforcement officers must maintain 100% compliance with every covenant or face immediate removal and forfeiture of position. Victoria's sprawling McMansion on the hill. Her backyard fountain violated the water conservation rules she enforced on everyone else. Her garage door was the wrong shade of beige. And those private meetings with the developer? They violated the open meeting requirements written in bold in Article 7. I didn't confront them. I simply filed parallel complaints. Dozens of them, each one forcing the board to investigate themselves. By Friday, when Victoria and her team returned with reinforcements for the compliance verification, they walked into a trap of their own design. I greeted them with a smile and a camera rolling, per their own transparent enforcement policy that required all interactions be recorded. "Everything is in order," I said, handing over a thick folder. "But while you're here, I noticed some discrepancies on the official inspection form. Section 14.2 requires 2 board members present for fines over $500. You only have one today." Victoria's face tightened. "Don't play games, Caldwell. Pay the fine or we'll lien your house." "Actually," I replied evenly, "according to the covenants you wrote, any improper enforcement voids the fine and triggers a review of the enforcing officer's qualifications. You've done this to 6 families this year alone." The enforcers shifted uncomfortably. One of them, a burly guy named Derek, stepped forward exactly like he had with Mia. "You think you're smart?" I didn't flinch. "I think the rules are the rules, Derek. Isn't that what you told my wife before you watched her bleed?" That's when the neighbors started arriving. 12 families at first, then 20, all carrying their own folders of documentation. Mrs. Alvarez held up photos of Victoria's illegal fountain. The Parkers played a recording where Derek had threatened their teenager. Victoria's mask cracked. "This is ridiculous. I built this community. The standards are whatever maintains order. Whatever you say they are." I asked, loud enough for everyone. "That's not in the bylaws, Victoria. In fact, Article 2 explicitly prohibits arbitrary enforcement. You've just admitted to violating your own founding document." The board members behind her looked like they'd swallowed bad cactus fruit. One quietly stepped away from her. At the emergency HOA meeting that night, which we forced them to call under the resident petition clause they could never amend away, the room was packed. I presented my slides, financial trails, contradictory enforcement logs, the developer emails, and time-stamped recordings of threats. Victoria stood at the podium, face red. "These people are troublemakers trying to undermine our way of life." A man in the back stood up. "Your way of life includes pushing women downstairs and stealing our homes?" The vote to remove the entire board was unanimous. Victoria screamed about lawsuits as security. Real security, not her goons, escorted her out. But the police were already waiting outside. The assault on Mia, combined with the fraud evidence now in the DA's hands, proved too much even for her connections. 6 months later, Desert Vista feels different. The new volunteer board actually listens. Fines dropped 90%. People plant what they want, within reason. Kids play freely, flags fly when they want, and gardens bloom without fear of visual disturbance citations. Victoria pleaded to lesser charges but lost her license to practice real estate and faces civil suits that will drain what the developer kickbacks left her. Mia and I sit on our porch most evenings now, watching kids play without fear of visual disturbance citations. The agave is thriving. Rules aren't the problem. It's when the people who worship them forget they're supposed to serve everyone, not just their own greed. So tell me in the comments, when someone uses community standards as a weapon to control and profit, are they the guardians of civilization? Or just the newest bullies in nicer polo shirts? Who really deserve the karma here, the family living quietly, or the ones who made the rules then broke them all?